For money, I didn't hesitate to climb into Mu Jiao's bed. I planned to run away once I had enough saved up. When Mu Jiao caught me, I was lying in the arms of a male model, my hand caressing his abs, my voice full of admiration. "Wow, your abs are so well trained. I love touching them. So addictive." No sooner had the words left my mouth than someone yanked my collar hard from behind. A deep, menacing voice rumbled above my head. "Mine feel good too. Wanna try? Touch them? Damn it. Who'd dare?" With Mu Jiao's words, the atmosphere turned terrifyingly silent. The group of male models recognized his face and quickly scrambled away in fear, some crawling, some stumbling. Only Mu Jiao and I were left in the corner of the room. "Wanna touch?" His voice brushed against my ear again. Before I could react, he grabbed my hand firmly and pressed it against his shirt. I could feel movement beneath my palm. Startled, I tried to pull back, but he held me in place, unyielding. "Don't like it?" "Of course I do. But who'd want to touch someone in a situation like this? Why the rush? If you like it, then keep going." His words left me speechless. How could he say things like that? A year ago, when I climbed into Mu Jiao's bed, he only paid attention to me during the heated moments between the sheets. Afterwards, he wouldn't spare me a glance. He'd just transfer money to my account and leave. It was a cold, transactional relationship, but I liked it that way. Once I had enough, I packed my bags and disappeared. Since then, I'd lived a free, unrestrained life. And now, it was all about to fall apart. I lazily leaned against Mu Jiao's solid chest, my tone indifferent. "Fine, I'll touch." He was so handsome that it would have been foolish not to touch. I was amazed by the feeling under my hand. Why did it still feel like it wasn't enough no matter how I touched it? Unable to hold back, I lifted my head and asked, "Can I put my hand inside?" Mu Jiao answered casually, "Sure." I was just about to slip my hand in when he coldly added, "Go ahead and try." What he meant was that if I dared to put my hand in, he would dare to chop it off. Did I pull my hand back? Who cares? The shopkeeper hurried over, probably because the male models had tattled. While Mu Jiao was talking to the shopkeeper, I made my escape. After running away from Mu Jiao, to avoid getting bored, I deliberately found a job. The working hours were ideal, starting at 10:00 a.m. and finishing at 4:00 p.m. I was particularly satisfied with this job. Not because it was good, but simply because I was always late and left early. My monthly salary was only 2,000 yuan. My colleagues were really impressed with me. And as for why a person like me hadn't been fired, it's because I was good at making up stories. I said I had to take care of my disabled husband in the morning when I arrived late. I left early in the afternoon because I needed to go home to cook for him, and if I stayed late, I'd be beaten and left half alive. Not to mention, every month I had to hand over 1,800 yuan for his food, or else I'd be punished. My boss took pity on me and arranged an easy job, deducting 300 yuan from my salary to encourage me to work harder. He even advised me, "One day, you'll achieve great things." Chewing on a piece of bread as I walked into the office, I heard my colleagues chatting enthusiastically, even more lively than usual. I soon found out that a business partner was coming to discuss a collaboration with our company. Just as I was wondering who it could be, the office door swung open. A group of people stepped out, and my eyes immediately landed on the man in the middle. Mu Jiao? Talk about a twist of fate. It's not like I stepped on dog poop on the way here. How did I end up with such bad luck? Mu Jiao raised an eyebrow, looking straight at me, his tone indifferent. What a coincidence. Who would believe it? This tiny company having Mu Jiao himself show up to discuss a deal. If you call that a coincidence, even a ghost wouldn't buy it. My boss glanced at me, then began explaining my situation to Mu Jiao. With each sentence he spoke, Mu Jiao's face grew darker. By the end, his expression was pitch black, like a lump of coal. Sensing the chill in the air, my boss looked both frightened and flustered. Mu Jiao turned to me, slowly repeating every word, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Disabled looking. Constantly beaten half to death. Living expenses of 1,800 yuan, huh? The more he spoke, the more I trembled. The person I told the boss about is named Jiao Siyu. To put it simply, it means dog moo. Mu Jiao smiled, but there wasn't a trace of amusement in his eyes. Cold sweat began to trickle down my back. The boss also sensed something was off between me and Mu Jiao. I'm doomed. I sighed inwardly. I haven't been working long, and now I might lose this job too? Ever since I fled from Mu Jiao, I've changed jobs countless times, but none of them lasted. This current job has only lasted half a month. Right now, all I want to know is whether I'm eligible for the NC1 allowance after 15 days of work. Nobody hates having more money. Neither do I. Mu Jiao, this restless demon, does he seriously have that much free time to hunt me down just to stir up trouble? The boss signaled me to apologize to Mu Jiao. What a joke. Why should I apologize when I've done nothing wrong? The boss was on the verge of an eye-twitching fit from frustration, but I remained still. At that moment, Mu Jiao cast me a glance and said, Miss Hua is married. Before I could even respond, the boss quickly chimed in. Yes, she's married. Miss Hua is truly pitiful, so young, yet already burdened with taking care of a disabled husband and constantly subjected to abuse. What a miserable fate. Perhaps I was too convincing during the interview. And since I hadn't filled out my personal information during the half-month I'd been working, the boss completely believed my story. Now he speaks with a sincere, sympathetic expression. I'm starting to regret it. What kind of person is the target anyway? He pointed at me and said, I want to discuss this collaboration project with her alone. In the meeting room, Mu Jiao sat across from me in a high-end suit. Since stepping in, I hadn't dared to lift my head even once. Still, I could clearly feel his sharp gaze fixed on me. His presence was overwhelming. He leaned back in his chair and spoke slowly. You may begin. I cursed silently in my heart. CEO Mu, I'm really not good at this. Having said that, I gritted my teeth and pushed through with the report. I finally finished. Mu Jiao gave a cold smile, his tone dripping with sarcasm. Ms. Hua, your presentation really was terrible. I forced a smile. Mu CEO, it's true that I don't speak very well. Mu Jiao lightly tapped his fingers on the table, then calmly stood up and walked away. I took a deep breath, feeling like I couldn't go on with this job anymore. Sure enough, less than 10 minutes after Mu Jiao left, the boss and the manager rushed in, their eyes filled with complicated emotions as they looked at me. I ruined the contract. Shouldn't they be yelling at me and firing me right about now? Why does this feel so strange? The boss took a deep breath and said, Hua Shi, you. I was baffled. What about me? The manager stood behind him, his face turning all sorts of colors like someone had just delivered tragic news. What now? Someone got diagnosed with a terminal illness or something? The boss scratched his head, looking awkward. Mu CEO said, I asked again, what did Mu CEO say? Whatever it was, it couldn't be anything good. He said you harassed him. My mind went blank, and I just nodded instinctively. Right. Whatever he says is true. No, wait a second. What did you just say? Mu Jiao said I harassed him? Since I met him, he hasn't paid attention to me unless absolutely necessary. Once, he transferred me too much money and I felt too embarrassed to accept it. I only wanted to kiss him once, and he dodged. And now? He's tarnishing my reputation right here in the company. I burst out laughing from sheer anger. Thanks to Mu Jiao's favor, the whole company now knows I harassed him. My colleagues looked at me with admiration in their eyes, some even whispering among themselves as I walked past. The boss personally told me to apologize to Mu Jiao. After all, this was my fault. Mu Jiao falsely accused me, yet now I'm supposed to apologize to him. This is no different than walking straight into the jaws of a tiger. He'll surely tear me to pieces and spell out the word death with what's left. This whole thing is your fault anyway. Look at this. The boss sighed. You didn't harass anyone else, but you went and harassed CEO Mu. CEO Mu is a big shot, after all. His words made my blood boil. Mu Jiao is a big shot. I'm also a taxpayer, you know. Boss, I think you're wrong. Wrong? How so? I smiled and said, he harassed me. Mu Jiao is a complete scumbag. Thanks to Mu Jiao, I got fired. He really is a bastard. I cursed him under my breath as I walked out of the company. Outside the gate, a car had pulled up. Mu Jiao was leaning against the car door, a cigarette pinched between his fingers. What are you doing here? Came to see me get fired? Faced with his indifferent gaze, I couldn't help but roll my eyes in contempt. What an actor. I was about to walk away, but as I passed him, I heard his cold voice. Miss Hua, if there's something wrong with your eyes, you'd better get them checked. Leaving it untreated could lead to blindness. That mouth of his. I turned back, eyes blazing with anger, and said through gritted teeth, Thank you for your concern, CEO Mu. Mu Jiao stubbed out his cigarette, his tone casual. You're overthinking, Miss Hua. I just remembered a con artist who once swindled me out of everything I had. I only hope you never run into someone like that. His words made me uneasy. I forced a dry laugh and said, CEO Mu, you really have a sense of humor. He gave a faint smile, his gaze dropping to my face. Funny thing is, that con artist looked an awful lot like you. Now unemployed, I decided to go to the one place adults turn to in times like this. The bar. At least this place helped me relax. I put on a seductive outfit, showing off my alluring figure. With a drink in hand, I wandered around, seeing if there was any guy that caught my eye. There are 3 things in this world one should never overlook: money, one's own life, and men. I'm quite satisfied with the handsome guys at the bar tonight. Just looking at them lifts my mood considerably. Unfortunately, my mind wandered to Mu Jiao's face. I pouted and shook my head. If Mu Jiao ever agreed to become a male model, this bar's door would have been kicked down. The moment I sat down, I felt a cold gaze from behind. Turning around, my eyes met Mu Jiao's directly. I smiled at him. Just then, a good-looking guy walked over and struck up a conversation. I shifted my gaze back, resting my chin on my hand, and teased him. Handsome, offering someone a drink shouldn't be done so half-heartedly. I placed my hand on his shoulder, my voice both gentle and seductive. So, what should I do? The guy gulped slightly. What a shame this type isn't really my taste. Compared to these young guys, I still prefer the mature type of man. I tucked my hair behind my ear and smiled. Wait till next time we meet, I'll show you how it's done. At that moment, Mu Jiao's hand clenched so tightly around his glass, it looked like he might crush it. He stared at my back as if he wanted to burn a hole through it. I pretended not to notice, picked up my glass, and took a sip. Mu Jiao suddenly stood up, his face dark as night, and dragged me out of the bar. Ouch! I cried out. He gripped my wrist so tightly that even when I tried to yank it free, I couldn't. He only tightened his hold. When we reached an alley, he shoved me against the wall, both hands braced on either side of me, his body pressing in close. His teeth clenched, his voice seething with anger. Hua Shi, are you that desperate for a man? Staring at Mu Jiao's face, cold and hard as steel, the irritation on my own face slowly faded. In my memory, Mu Jiao was like an emotionless machine except when he was in bed. But now, he was genuinely angry. Looking at him, I suddenly laughed. Mr. Mu, aren't you being a little too controlling? What does this have to do with you? So what if I am desperate for a man? My words made Mu Jiao freeze for a moment. From the time he dragged me out of the bar, saw me at the office, and now this, it was all just too much, and I couldn't stand it. I pushed Mu Jiao away, my steps ready to leave, but he pulled me back and suddenly bent down to kiss me madly. I froze, then reacted by biting him hard. There was a faint salty taste in my mouth, but Mu Jiao seemed unfazed by the pain. Instead, he kissed me even more fiercely. When Mu Jiao finally let go, I wiped my lips and slapped him across the face. CEO Mu, you already have someone by your side. You should know how to restrain yourself. With that, I turned and walked away. Mu Jiao had a Baiyuguang named Meng Yun. I only found out about this after I ended up in his bed. I heard that Meng Yun was studying abroad, preparing herself to better support his future endeavors. They even had an engagement. Back then, I just gave a faint smile and said nothing. Even after I ran away, news about Mu Jiao and Meng Yun kept appearing frequently online. He took her to business events, they had already met each other's families, and were about to get engaged. I watched until my emotions were completely numb, consoling myself that, to me, the target was nothing more than an ATM. Whoever he married had nothing to do with me. Since then, I hadn't seen the target again. I lazed around at home for days. One evening, I slipped into a seductive outfit, planning to hit the bar and unwind. But just as I reached the entrance, the staff stopped me. I frowned, a vein popping on my forehead. What's going on? You're not letting guests in now? The staff smiled politely. Sorry, Miss Hua, the boss gave strict orders. If you show up, we absolutely must not let you in. What? What kind of ridiculous rule is that? I said. You must be mistaken. I'm not Miss Hua. My surname is Chen. The boss gave photos of you to every employee here so we'd remember your face clearly. I'm not stupid, I come here often, and now suddenly I'm banned? And the boss went to that extent? If it's not the target, then who else could it be? Fine. If I can't get into this place, I'll just go to another bar. It's not like bars are in short supply. An hour later, I sat dazed by the roadside, laughing and cursing Mu Jiao. That bastard Mu Jiao was seriously abusing his power. Not a single bar would let me in tonight. The target wasn't just a damn dog, he was a twisted freak. I actually thought he had finally let me go, but instead, he was cutting off all my exits. The next time I saw the target was at the hospital. I had just stepped out of the gynecology clinic when I bumped into him. Ever since that incident at the bar, he hadn't shown up again. Seeing his cold face, I had a bad feeling. Damn it, how could it be this much of a coincidence? Before I could slip away, he had already walked up and blocked my path. Pregnant? His voice was as cold as -20 degrees. I looked at him, confused. What the hell is wrong with you now, CEO Moo? I asked. Seriously, what does this have to do with you? If my period weren't irregular, who the hell would want to be here? This is ridiculous. Mu Jiao stared at me for a moment, then suddenly laughed. His laughter carried a sinister undertone, his voice laced with a chilling edge. Of course it matters. If you're carrying some man's child, I won't allow a single one to be born. Fuck you, Mu Jiao, are you insane? Who made you some kind of domineering CEO? You're fucking crazy. I couldn't hold back and cursed him. Mu Jiao snatched the test results from my hand and scanned them quickly. His grim expression slowly softened. Just as I was about to snatch them back, a weak voice called out from behind. Jiao, I'm not feeling well. Can you come and help me? I turned around. When I saw clearly who was behind me, the smile on my face froze. It was Meng Yun. I didn't expect to run into her so soon. Meng Yun's face was pale, one hand clutching her stomach, the other gripping the doorframe for support. 1,000 thoughts rushed through my mind, finally stopping at the one I least wanted to believe: Meng Yun is pregnant. Is it Mu Jiao's? Even though I had told myself 1,000 times that Meng Yun and Mu Jiao would get engaged, that they would have a child of their own, my heart still couldn't escape that sharp pang of pain. I could only stand there stiffly, staring at Meng Yun's pale face. Mu Jiao glanced at me and said, "I'll wait here for a moment." Then he stepped forward to support Meng Yun. My head buzzed, I couldn't hear anything anymore. When Meng Yun's eyes met mine, she looked briefly surprised, as if she hadn't expected to see me here. Then she quickly looked away and affectionately leaned into Mu Jiao. Seeing that, I nearly ran away in miserable retreat. When I got home, I sat blankly on the sofa. It felt like my heart was being squeezed, the pain cutting straight to the bone. I had clearly told myself to stay away from Mu Jiao, but the moment I saw him standing next to someone else, I couldn't stop the ache in my chest. I had met Meng Yun once, the day she returned to the country. There was a welcome party for her. Mu Jiao was there too. Before he left, he kissed me and said he'd be back soon. That soon kept me waiting until 1 a.m. I waited until I was too tired to stay awake, dozing off on the sofa. When Mu Jiao came back, he reeked of alcohol but wasn't drunk. The moment I stood up, he staggered and pulled me into his arms. Mu Jiao. Hua Shi. Hua Shi. Mu Jiao kept repeating my name. I leaned against him, catching a faint but unmistakable scent of another woman's perfume. It was so light, yet so distinct. Like a bolt of lightning to my ears, tears welled up, but I forced myself not to let them fall. I just helped Mu Jiao back to his room. Meng Yun knew I was with Mu Jiao. Not long after, she showed up at my place while he was at work. The moment I opened the door, bundles of documents were thrown straight at my face, scattering papers all over the floor. Hua Shi, 7 years old, your parents divorced, and you lived with your mother. After graduating from university, your mother fell seriously ill and is still in the hospital now, requiring a large amount of money daily for treatment. My mind went blank. My face burned. Meng Yun sneered, for money, you worked as a waitress, even in bars. Anything that could earn you money, You did it. I lifted my head, my throat dry. What exactly are you trying to say? Meng Yan's gaze shifted, looking at me as if I were trash. You think Mu Jiao doesn't know what I found out? She went on. Mu Jiao's just playing with you, can't you see that? Between me and Mu Jiao it was an even trade. I gave him what he wanted, and in return, he gave me what I wanted. Fair and square. But you just a girl who'd do anything to crawl into his bed for money. Even though it was Meng Yan saying those words, they still left me shaken and hurt. Not because I feared Mu Jiao would find out about my family situation, but because I was afraid he'd believe I was that kind of person. And the truth wasn't far off. Between Mu Jiao and me, it was clearly a transactional relationship. Throughout it, I kept telling myself not to fall in love with him, but it was useless. Seeing my pale face and panic-stricken eyes, Meng Yan said smugly, Mu Jiao would never be with someone like you, let alone marry you. To him, she was nothing more than a tool for entertainment in moments of boredom. The arrangement was simple, give her money, and she would sleep with him. It was merely a transaction. She shouldn't even dream of climbing the golden mountain that is Mu Jiao. She looked at my expression, gave a cold smile, and added, besides, his parents would never allow Mu Jiao to be with someone like you, someone without a proper family. Every word she spoke trampled on my pride, exposing the deep-rooted insecurities in my heart for her to mock. For an ugly duckling could never become a swan, nor could it ever ascend the golden mountain that is Mu Jiao. So, I took the money and ran, putting as much distance as I could between myself and Mu Jiao. The ring of the phone pulled me out of my thoughts. I glanced at the screen. It was an unfamiliar number. An uneasy feeling crept over me, and somehow, I knew it was a call from Mu Jiao. When I ran away, I blocked all contact from him. The phone kept ringing. I stared blankly for a few seconds, then decisively turned it off. Less than 3 seconds later, it rang again. I turned it off once more, and finally added that number to the blocked list. The next morning, my door was knocked on urgently. I wondered who would suddenly come looking for me. Peering through the peephole, Mu's face appeared. I froze. Hua Shi. He knocked again. I lowered my eyes, sighed, and eventually opened the door. Some things, some words, eventually have to be made clear. As soon as the door opened, I was met with Mu Jiao's deep, unreadable gaze. He glanced over me once, then stepped inside as if he belonged there. Halfway there, he turned back and said, "Let's talk." I sat across from him, saying nothing. He was silent too. The air felt slightly tense. Mu Jiao's dark eyes stared straight into mine. "Why did you run back then?" I gave a faint smile. "CEO Mu, because you paid less than the others." The moment I finished speaking, the air around Mu Jiao instantly turned cold. He emphasized each word as he asked again. "Less than the others?" His voice was icy, and I nodded. Mu Jiao let out a cold chuckle. "That year, during the 1 year you were with me, I gave you 50 million yuan. That amount is enough for you to live in comfort for the rest of your life. That reason doesn't quite add up." I added. I was tired of it too. Mu Jiao's face immediately darkened. "Tired of it?" He repeated my words, his voice dripping with menace. I met his gaze and nodded again. Mu Jiao dragged me back. He lifted me roughly and threw me into the car. I struggled, but he didn't care. I cursed at him, but he acted as if he didn't hear, calmly shoving me into the vehicle. He said, Huashi, you've had your fun. Now it's time to stop. When the car started, I stopped resisting. I just stared out the window, silently wondering why he came looking for me when he already had Mangyun. What was I to him? A fling, or an old flame? Mu Jiao, can't we part on good terms? My voice was soft. I ran so far that year, yet Mu Jiao still found me. He gave a cold smile and asked in return. You think that's possible? I fell silent. Of course not, because we were never equals. I took every cent Mu Jiao gave me. I even thought he was a fool. Every time I accepted his money, I was happy. But I don't know when it started I realized I had fallen in love with him. To me, he was a sugar daddy. Loving him was pure madness. Ever since I got involved with Mu Jiao, people in the industry were stunned. They couldn't understand how I caught his eye. They said I was the first woman to stay by his side for so long. I only laughed to myself. Me? Mu Jiao is heaven's favored child, flawless in every way. There are countless beautiful, talented, well-educated women with powerful backgrounds around you, far superior to me in every way, all eager to throw themselves at you. Are you telling me you have no women by your side? What about Mangyun? 2 hours later, the car slowly pulled into the villa. As we got out, I saw Mangyun standing at the door from afar. The moment she saw Mu Jiao, she lit up and ran over cheerfully, but the second she noticed me beside him, her expression changed instantly. A Jiao, she. Mu Jiao didn't answer Mangyun's question but instead coldly asked in return. What are you doing here? I glanced at Mu Jiao. Just yesterday, he had been gentle and considerate. And now, he had turned cold and indifferent. Mangyun looked momentarily flustered, but she forced a smile and raised the lunchbox in her hands. Last night I learned to cook soup with Aunt Zhang. I made it this morning and brought it over for you. Mu Jiao pulled me around her. Take it back. I won't drink it. I've been staying in the villa for half a month. During that half a month, I mostly saw only the maids. I heard that Mu Jiao was busy with an extremely difficult project and was rarely home. Even though he had brought me here for 2 weeks, I could count on 2 hands the number of times I'd actually seen him. That evening, after dinner, I was just about to head upstairs when Mangyun showed up. As soon as she walked in, she slapped me across the face. Without hesitation, I raised my hand and struck her right back. Holding her face, Mangyun stared at me in shock before shouting. You dare hit me? I calmly said. You hit me for no reason, of course I'll hit back. Mangyun's face twisted in rage. She raised her hand to strike again, but I quickly caught it and shoved her to the floor. She went completely berserk, screaming as she fell. You lowlife! This is all your fault. If it weren't for you, a Jiao wouldn't have rejected my parents' proposal for a marriage alliance right in front of everyone. Why didn't you just die with your pathetic mother? A wretch like you has probably slept with countless men. Mu Jiao turned me down because of a prostitute like you? What gives you the right? I'm taking him. Mu Jiao refused to go through with the arranged marriage with Mangyun. She seemed about to explode again, but I merely looked at her, my gaze cold and laced with mockery. If Mu Jiao rejected you, then you should be asking him, not me. What use is it to come to me? If it weren't for you, he wouldn't have rejected me. She shouted, her voice rising with every word. I truly couldn't understand what Mangyun was thinking. She was clearly outstanding, came from a prominent family, so why was she so obsessed with someone who didn't have a shred of affection for her? Did she think Mu Jiao was some delicacy she could claim from a banquet table? Miss Meng, you should find someone to settle this matter with, not me. That night, it was rare for Mu Jiao to come home for dinner. After the meal, I went upstairs and asked him, "When will you finally let me go?" Mu Jiao glanced at me and repeated, "Let you go?" That same attitude again. I felt annoyed and blurted out, "Mu Jiao, what exactly are we in your eyes? A sugar arrangement? Friends with benefits? Now you're bringing me back here and refusing the engagement with Meng Yan. Don't tell me it's because of me." His eyes narrowed. "Meng Yan came here." I let out a cold laugh. "Don't pretend. This villa is covered in cameras. Even if you're too busy to watch them, the others in the house aren't lifeless statues. I'm sure they reported it to you the moment you got back. How could you not know?" He asked me in return. "Then what do you think our relationship is?" Without hesitation, I answered, "A cold transaction based on money, with the right to abandon it at any time." After I finished speaking, Mu Jiao laughed a laugh filled with rage. Before I could react, his tall frame loomed over me, one hand gripping my chin as he kissed me fiercely. I clung to his shirt, feeling like I couldn't breathe. When he finally let go, his hand still caressing my chin, his voice was flat. "Hua Shi, you're cruel." I looked up at him dazedly. I couldn't understand why he was so furious. "Just like that, you left, didn't even leave me a word." "Ah, that." When he mentioned it, I couldn't hide the awkward look on my face. A hint of embarrassment appeared clearly on my face. I pushed him away and took a few steps back. Before I had a chance to explain everything, Mu Jiao received a phone call and had to leave in a hurry. Before leaving, he told me, "Be good and stay home." I didn't reply. Later, I found out that the call was from the Meng family. Meng Yan was planning to jump off a building. When Mu Jiao arrived, she was standing at the edge of the rooftop. The wind blew wildly through her hair, as if just a bit more force would sweep her whole body away. "Don't come any closer. I want to see Mu Jiao. Mu Jiao is here. Mu Jiao is here." Meng Yan's eyes brimmed with tears. The firefighters watched her every move intently, ready to rush in at any moment. "Jiao, I don't understand, I really don't understand why. I went abroad to study because of you, just hoping that one day I could stand by your side. Because of you, I gave up the life my parents had planned for me. Because of you, I forced myself to learn things I wasn't good at, just to share common interests with you. Why can't you look at me, just once?" The more she spoke, the more agitated she became. "Is it because of Hua Shi? What does she even have? Why do you keep looking for her? Why do you have to be with her? What does she have that makes her worthy of you? In what way is she better than me?" The Meng couple looked heartbroken as they watched their daughter. Mrs. Meng cried until her eyes were swollen. "Mr. Mu, please. Just pay a little attention to her. Go along with her, just until she comes down, all right?" Since arriving at the scene, Mu Jiao didn't say a word. Meng Yan turned to look at him, her eyes brimming with tears. As long as he said a single word, she would immediately step down. But he only spoke one sentence. "Hua Shi is the one I love." Just 7 words. Meng Yan was devastated, ready to jump. Fortunately, the firefighters below quickly grabbed her legs. She was saved, and Mu Jiao immediately left. When the maid told this story, her gaze toward me was filled with jealousy. I only gave a faint smile and said nothing. Mangyun was taken by her family to a psychiatric hospital. That night, on the bed, Mu Jiao held me and spoke. I suddenly asked, Mu Jiao, what exactly is our relationship now? Since climbing into his bed, I always thought of him as an ATM, and I swore I would never fall for him. But looking back now, all I said was just empty words. After a year of being with him, I earned 50 million yuan. I thought I had hidden my feelings well, but then Mangyun appeared and exposed everything. At that moment, I grabbed the money and fled, trying to escape from my own heart. Waiting a long time without hearing his response, I turned my head. Mu Jiao kissed my neck gently, his deep voice softly ringing in my ear. Wife. Just one word, but it felt like it pierced deep into my heart. I sat up in bed, the light casting a soft glow on Mu Jiao's calm face. I asked softly, Do you know what I was doing before I met you? Mu Jiao replied, I know. Then do you know that when I first climbed into your bed, it was just for the money? Mu Jiao answered again, I know. Whatever I asked, his response was always the same, I know. Then what about the year I ran away? Do you know what I was doing? Yeah, I already knew. It wasn't by chance that Mu Jiao found me in that tiny company. Turns out, he had been keeping an eye on me all along. Then why didn't you come find me sooner? The moment I finished asking, I saw him smirk coldly. Mu Jiao slowly began listing every one of my achievements from the past year, his voice growing colder with each word, until, by the end, it was almost gritted through his teeth. I forced a nervous laugh. If you hadn't come looking for me sooner, I'd probably be living a good life with a bunch of male models by now. His tone was full of sarcasm. I broke into a cold sweat. Mangyun was trapped by her family, while Mu Jiao's family reacted violently when they found out he was with me. They strongly opposed him loving someone like me, who had nothing to offer. That day, Mu Jiao came home exhausted, sat on the sofa, and rubbed his forehead. I hesitated and said, How about we take a break? In response, he kissed me passionately. No break. What if you run away again? I fell silent, not saying anything more. Deep down, I regretted that when I ran away, I was only caught up in luxury and never thought about building a successful career. As if reading my thoughts, Mu Jiao casually said, Probably bankrupt soon. A while later, he took my hand and slid a ring onto my ring finger, causing my heart to flutter unexpectedly. What does this mean? I asked. Mu Jiao smiled. I want to marry you. I hesitated for a moment, then couldn't help but ask, Isn't Mangyun your Guang? How can you want to marry me like this? Mu Jiao furrowed his brows, his gaze at me somewhat puzzled. Guang? I nodded. I heard she went abroad for you. Before she left, didn't you too? Mu Jiao interrupted, No. Where did you hear that nonsense? I stammered, At that party, she was waiting to return home, and your shirt smelled like women's perfume. Mu Jiao looked at me for a long time, then tilted his head and laughed softly. After laughing, he said, The perfume wasn't hers. He explained that at that party, a girl almost tripped, and he caught her, but her heel broke. So he had to help her for a while, and only left after she got her shoes fixed. The perfume smell was from that moment. So, that day when Mangyun came out of the obstetrics department, wasn't she pregnant? No, Mu Jiao replied. She wasn't feeling well. My parents asked me to take her to the hospital. What about those rumors about you and her? I admit, I was jealous, I was envious. Mu Jiao kissed me lightly on the lips and then smiled. Fake news. Why didn't you correct them when I pushed you away? It was too much trouble. Too many people trying to pair you with other girls. I didn't say anything else, feeling a little sweet inside. At least, during the 5 years I was gone, Mu Jiao hadn't been with Meng Yun. He said, "You have a good memory." Clearly, he wasn't complimenting me but teasing me. I quietly looked at him, raised my hand to shake the ring on my finger, and generously forgave him. Well, let me think about it some more. Of course, think about it. I turned the ring, smiled, and then pulled him into a kiss. Finally, I said directly, "Mu Jiao, I love you." Yang Yun is right, Mu Jiao's parents would never agree to let their son marry someone like me. They use every possible means to stop us. They try to approach me, but the obstacles in place prevent them from meeting me. As for you, all their efforts are in vain. It's as if you're under a spell, completely enchanted by me. The story continued until near the new year. Mu Jiao made dumplings for me, and I teased him, saying he looked like a house husband. He didn't say anything. When I took a bite of the dumpling, my eyes instantly turned red. The taste was just like the dumplings my mom used to make. I lowered my head, eating piece by piece, then suddenly teased him again. "Did you mix in my mom's recipe?" Mu Jiao was silent, patting my head. After finishing the last piece, I looked up, my eyes still red. My parents divorced when I was little. I lived with my mom and my grandmother, but by the time I was in middle school, my grandmother passed away. After that, it was just my mom and me. I never expected that when I graduated from university, my mom fell seriously ill, needing a large amount of money for treatment, and me. I stopped here and looked straight into his eyes. I used to work as a server, a street vendor, and had many different jobs, but the money I made was too little. Then, I started working at a bar, selling liquor. Saying these words, I felt much lighter. Mu Jiao looked at me intently, and that made me feel so insecure. And that's why I ran away. Mu Jiao's eyes were filled with sorrow. He knew the wind outside was strong, making the leaves rustle, but inside, it was as warm as summer. I laughed. "How do you know everything?" "Yeah." I gently raised my hand and cupped his face. "So, do you still want to marry me?" Mu Jiao kissed my hand and smiled. "I really do." Thank you for listening to the story at TH Audio. If you enjoyed the story at TH, don't forget to subscribe to catch the next episodes.